Hey there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the new moon in Leo taking place on July 24th at 3:10 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. If you've been wanting to book a reading with me, the month of August is almost upon us, and there are some August readings definitely available in the half-hour sections. So I would love to read with you. Definitely feel free to book. And if you're looking for savings codes and discounts, the best way to get access to those is to be a member of my private list, as there may be a few little surprises coming up for the month of August. Link to join that is below this video. Here is our new moon at the second degree of Leo. I would, I'm really I'm feeling this new moon. I like a lot of the aspects here. Let's get into it. We see a, a trine to Saturn and Neptune here in Aries, there at the first and second degree of Aries. We also see this opposition to Pluto over here in Aquarius. There's other aspects, and I'm going to get into it. We certainly see a sextile to Uranus, but I want to pause and talk about these three, well, four really, before we go any further, especially when we get these lunations that speak to any one of these, but then certainly you speak to two, you speak to three, you speak to four. These are big deal transiting energies. Just one of these are what we call the outer planets in astrology. Just one of these moving in relationship to any of your personal planets in your chart, or changing signs or houses in your chart, it's going to be absolutely life changing, life altering in a really big deal kind of way, where you would look back and note to yourself, yep, that was when X, Y, and Z changed, when this, that, and the other happened in my life. But when any of these in concert, two, three, or all four of them, speak to a personal planet in your chart, this is when your whole life turns upside down. Not just a part, but all. And when we have these lunations, new moon, full moon, that then have a communication with one or the other, we do tend to see some significant collective changes, some significant collective shifts, because we've had several lunations this year in communication with all of them, or two out of four, or three out of four. This is why this year has been a year that's been filled with a lot of tension, a lot of transformation, growth, and change, a lot of shifting of the scene in your world, demand from the universal energies to step up financially, relocate physically, go back to school, leave school, shift something in your family, change career direction altogether. These sorts of changes of magnitude do show themselves when these sorts of planets begin to show up in communication, certainly with each other, as they have been most of last year, all of this year, really since about 2023. I'm sure you all have really felt this sort of demand from the universal energies to make changes both internally and to your exterior world. And then we get these new and full moons that are almost like periods on sentences. Period, new paragraph, or closed chapter, open new chapter inside of a book that's all about change, growth, transformation, and evolution. And so individually, we have Pluto, which is all about endings and then rebirth through confrontations with fear to pick up our power. And that's in the sign of collectives. That's Aquarius. As Pluto continues to transit through Aquarius, this is where collectives of people, groups, are really going to recognize how much power they really do hold in their collective hands when they jump into agreement together. And here we see this Pluto opposite the new moon in Leo. Leo is the sign of the king. Aquarius is the sign of the people. we have this sort of oppositional energy between uh, power structures or the powers that be and the people that actually hold the power. And that would be you, that would be me, that would be your community, your country, this sort of thing. And so, with a new moon of this nature, we do see a catalytic energy collectively that's an invitation for the people to begin to rise up, to band together, to use their power en masse and on force to like really affect change in ways that are empowering for the majority of people, not just the royalty of people, the few people. On a more macro level, we certainly see where we ourselves as individuals may need to break away from collective consciousness in order for to be about a process of self-enrichment, to be about a process of self-sovereignty here, especially if you already know, places like social media or even your friend group just aren't serving you. I have a cousin who likes to send me inspirational things each day. She's more on certain social media sites than I am because I can't, my heart can't take it, my mind can't take it. And today she sent me something that says, there are some blessings God will delay until you get from around the wrong people. And if we all haven't lived that truth in one way or another since 2020, right? That, there are some things in our lives that, like, there are just certain people, it's just time. It's time for us to evolve beyond, just where we used to locate ourselves and socialize. It's time for them to go on their path, us to go on ours. It's not that there's any hard feelings, it's not that there's anything wrong. Sometimes it's just the chapter has closed, the energy in the season has changed. And in order to get to the next place of blessing for ourselves, it's necessary to put ourselves around other people. And this Pluto, which is power, inside the sign of group, certainly speaks to that, and very loudly at this new moon, where we are finding that groups that we may be in do not serve us. We certainly are getting that nudge at this new moon. For self-preservation, it's time to move. It's time to resituate yourself in the milieu of people that you're connected to. We see an echo of that same message from Uranus over here in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is also a sign that deals with groups, but it's a more intimate group. It's the siblings, the cousins, the neighbors, the soul family, the group of people that we identify with more on the micro level, the group of people that we deal with in a more intimate way. And so Uranus, in and of itself, is all about that collective. Well, and let me say collective, yes, but more so divine change. It's the quantum leap, it's the non-linear, it's the lightning strike, it's the overnight change that seems to have come out of nowhere. Many people refer to Uranian change as shocking or surprising. As Uranus has made its way into Gemini, many of you will have found that there are shifts in the types of people that I have mentioned in your personal life. And so while we get, some of the friendships and collectives over here with Aquarius, we get the more intimate connections over here in Gemini. Not romantic, just the extended family sort of soul family type of connections. Uranus has also placed a demand in our space that it's absolutely necessary to begin the process of realigning yourself with people who are in your next chapter as you close the present chapter. Yes, there are some people who may continue forward with you, but you're probably getting that sort of nudge internally, if not a complete shakedown externally. There are people who are meant to be moving on their evolutionary path just as you are. And again, no harm, no foul. It's just the scene has changed. The chapter's closed. It's time to go to act 4 of our, little play or, theater production that we're all living at this moment. And so Uranus is also speaking to this new moon. And then Leo, we get the reasoning for these sorts of changes. Leo, again, is about that sovereignty, that being, my meditation teacher calls this being senior in our space to anything that wants to own our space or our consciousness. We get that opportunity to really step into ownership and command of our lives and the direction they're going. We also get that sense of internal creativity, that connection to our inner child, that personal wholeness here and desire to provide and protect for self, and really come from a place of having a full cup. And Pluto and Uranus, in these signs that deal with groups of people, in communication with this new moon, they're really giving us this wake up call about where and how and when we need to connect and disconnect. Hold space, but maybe at a distance. Hold space, but maybe in closer proximity. And with whom? And where you're not clear, I'm going to be really honest with you. Uranus and Pluto know they're actually going to resituate you by moving people out and moving people in. And so you can really trust that God's stars here have the best in mind for you. They really are working with you, not against you. Even if some of these changes feel a bit difficult or challenging in present time, it's necessary to really lean into that old adage, some people are here for a season, some for a reason, some for a lifetime, right? And that you may not have done anything wrong. The other person may not have done anything wrong. There isn't always something to solve, fix, heal, go to therapy for. Sometimes the chapter just changes. And that's really what I'm seeing here. A lot of neutrality as these chapters change. I'm not seeing the sort of energy that speaks to strife or discombobulation and stress or power struggles. Now that sort of energy will show itself in a moment like this when people don't know how to let go with peace, with ease, with love, with admiration and respect. That sort of energy will show itself in a moment like this when people have a problem with closure and completion. Normally, when I see that sort of strife that can lead to closure, Mars is involved with Pluto. Mars is involved with Uranus in some sort of way where there's upheaval. I'm not seeing that here. I'm just seeing periods on a sentence, closing of a chapter. Part of the catalytic component to this has to do with the Saturn Neptune configuration here, speaking to this new moon from another sign that deals with our individuality, and that's Aries. And so Aries is all about that sense of selfhood, individuality, uniqueness, personal ambition, personal drive, personal momentum, personal movement. Of all the signs, Aries is one of the ones that deals most directly, or it is the one that deals most directly with your own selfhood, autonomy, and identity. And so with Saturn, all about structure and boundaries in communication with this new moon. And then Neptune, all about our spirituality and our intuition and our imagination in connection with this new moon, both of them by trine. We're seeing this again theme of self enrichment, self enhancement, self rebirthing unfolding with this new moon, and that by design is happening in a way that is placing that demand in the space. Okay, if you're going to really do it and be all of you, you're going to have to find the right people for you, find your tribe, be aligned with the people who really can hold you and connect with you. Okay. And so, where it's necessary, you want to make your peace with this. Maybe it's internal, maybe it's external. Certainly, with Pluto opposite Moon, I see there can be some big feelings maybe going on with about some of these changes in present time, certainly grief or a sense of loss, if that's part of what it is as you graduate into your next chapter. But I also see a large sense of lightness and surprise with Uranus in communication with this new moon, as some of the people that are meant to go into the next chapter with you show themselves in surprising ways, bring, so you get surprising encounters at this time. And all of this is a function of just really honoring and stepping more into the truth of who we are at this time and at this season. So it's a beautiful energy of it's an evolutionary energy. It's very transformative. There's with Neptune and Saturn a real dissolution of our old self, as we really become all of that which we have grown through and begin to embody it in present time, and the spiritual process of embodiment. Certainly, with Pluto opposite this moon, there can be some power struggles in partnership, and where it's not related to collaboration and partnership or with people, you may feel that sort of interior power struggle with self and some heightened and intensified emotions around these changes that are taking place within you, where it's just time. It's time for you to step forward. It's time for you to step in. It's time for you to step up in your becomingness as a way shower, as a light worker, as a human being who just is starting to get some clarity or live in some truth. Here, this is me. Here, this is who I am, unapologetically. And that's a very leonine vibe. Now, certainly there can be some fear, some jealousy, some obsession going on with Pluto opposite this new moon. Pluto does tend to have us, dance with some of our more what we consider the shadow emotions. That fear, that jealousy, these can all be energies that let us know we have more power than we feel a right to use in a circumstance. And it's really about finding where we can give ourselves more permission to step in. We also can see manipulation and control issues with Pluto in the mix, this sort of wanting to strong arm other people so that we can feel better. And you may encounter some of that in your interactions with people leading up to this new moon, where people are either trying to strong arm you so that they can feel better about themselves or safer in their own circumstance. Or you may find, like, I would really just feel better if so and so just fell in line. It did A, B, and C for me. Like if they just did this, then I would feel much better, right? This is one of those new moons that's a real reminder to really check our own emotions and be in that place of ownership of what we need to do to manage our own realities rather than what other people need to do for us to for us to feel good in our reality. There's a huge energy when you put all of these together again. I'm going to zoom back out. There's a huge energy here of really being stripped down to our core self. What is the essential parts of who we are? What are the parts of us that no matter how the situation or the scene or the circumstance changes, I'm still bringing certain parts of me to the table? There can be a real energy here of helping us see in the mirror the truth of who we are. And now, with Pluto opposite this new moon, you may find there are some parts you're not really feeling, like, ooh, wish it didn't look like that. That's really uncomfortable. But again, with Uranus speaking to this new moon, it's all about evolution, and Saturn, which is all about wholeness and integrity and structure and boundaries to keep out things that compromise that. And Neptune, which wants to inspire us to our highest ideal of ourself. There is this opportunity in this energy to really listen to our better angels as we confront the shadows in the mirror that we'd rather not see. And it gives us this opportunity to step up, which I do like to see here. So if there's any discomfort with self as we walk together through this new moon and on the backside of this new moon, especially if there are people. We have Uranus, we have Pluto, again, dealing with groups. If there are people who are reflecting back to you, you know what, this thing that you got going on, this is not a good look. It's not serving you. It's really creating an alienation from the things you say you truly want. If you're getting feedback, this is a beautiful time to just take a pause, reflect on that feedback, own what's true for you, but then how you want to move forward with it, right? How you want to take ownership of what happens next in your story for yourself. So, again, I really like to see this. It's a very centered and self sort of new moon, even if there are other people you're dealing with, but it's centered in self in a way that allows you to take control of your life and of your emotions and move yourself where you want to be. One of my very first coaching teachers, did a seminar back in the early 2000s. I'll never forget this phrase. She looked at us in the seminar room and she said, we were having a conversation around feedback and how to give feedback and how to receive it. And she ended up saying, one person calls you and asks, so what? Big deal. It's their problem. They may be having a big day. Let it roll off your back. Don't get in the weeds with every single thing every person has to say to you. Two people call you and ask, you could be having a little bit of an off day, an off time. You self-correct. But again, don't get caught up in your feelings around it. Who knows what could be going on for those people? But a third person calls you and asks, it's time to buy a saddle. So there is a sort of theme here in this with the Gemini component, which is about dealing with groups of people, the Aquarius component, that's Pluto, also about dealing with groups of people. Take into consideration if you're getting a lot of feedback about a singular thing about you in your life and you're hearing it from multiple different informational points, especially if it's people you trust, right? It's a great opportunity to take a beat, take a look. Okay, here I'm hearing this thing about me. It may be uncomfortable. It may be great. Who knows? You could be getting, rave reviews for work you do, right? Um, you may be getting some feedback at this time from the groups you're a part of, and there's a couple of ways to process this, right? Especially if you feel like I need to remain a part of this group. This is a group I want to be a part of. Like, let's say it's your family and they've staged an intervention, right? Or let's say it's your job and you really want to keep it for financial reasons, right? These sorts of things. But it could also be something far less consequential, like a volunteer group. And there's millions of volunteer groups on the planet who are looking for exactly what you bring to the table. There's an opportunity here for you in this to look at the feedback and make some critical decisions for yourself. You don't have to take everything people say about you as true. It could be true, but there's an opportunity here for you to say, okay, here's what they're saying. What do I want to do with this? Who do I want to become in this? You know, how do I want to handle this? And that's that leonine part with this new moon. It comes back to you and your ownership of your own life. Alternatively, you may also, as I mentioned, have this critical turning point where you recognize, you know what? They're absolutely right. And this is how I know I don't belong in this group anymore. I am, what they say. And that's actually the right place for me to be, the right place for me to grow, the right direction for my evolution. And if there's not a place for that in this group, maybe there's a better group for me out here. You'll know best. You got to trust your intuition on this, right? You'll know best, especially with new moon in Leo providing a lot of this self-awareness activity with Saturn and Neptune speaking to this new moon. Um, Thankfully, Saturn is speaking with Neptune here, so Neptune can't have us in too much self-delusion, as it will after Saturn leaves this conjunction. But right now, Saturn has the Neptunian energy in check in such a way where what's happening is we're dissolving parts of the self that no longer serve who we are becoming and what it is we've said we wanted to be. And so this is really going to support us, especially where there has been any level of cowtailing to group dynamics or giving away the self to group or an overabundance of other affinity instead of self affinity, where we're just like giving our power away left and right. This is where we may get to that point where we say enough, right? You want me to be someone I can't be. I have now come to terms and clarity about that. It's time for you to go your way and me to go mine, and really trust, respect, and honor what we've had, but also release it to the universe to bring what's next for the two of us. So, in this, for some, I don't necessarily see breakup energy in terms of romantic partnership. I'm not seeing that, but that could be here too. But this is more, could be more like work, place to live, friendship group, could be, you know, um, something with the siblings, with the cousins, with the family dynamics, the volunteer group, the places that you serve, this sort of thing. Okay. Okay. That's what this is sort of I wanted to speak to these before I brought in any of the asteroids that are part of this conversation, because the planetary energies, they hold more weight. They bring a stronger influence. It's these asteroidal energies that they're there, they're supporting the conversation. They're not as weighty in terms of impact and influence on our lives. So let's get into the asteroids speaking to this new moon that are reflecting the theme that these heavier outer planetary energies are bringing to the conversation. We see a square to Chiron and Aerys in Aries. We also see a square to Haumea, the creation goddess, there at the first degree of Scorpio. And then let me see here. Yes, okay, that's what we have. Those are my notes. That's what they say. Okay, so I'm going to get to this T square component in a moment, but I want to talk about each of these individually. Building on what we just spoke about, especially for those of you in sensitive group dynamics, we do see Chiron and Aerys here inside of a conversation of feeling, and I've been mentioning this because they've been in conjunction for a while, speaking to several lunations. That last, I think the new moon in Cancer and the full moon in Capricorn, both of them, played a starring role in communication with the lunation. Chiron and Eris together here, they really have people's backs up right now in a energy of feeling slighted, disrespected, feeling pushed, feeling like people are trying to take something from you, feeling like, you're not enough, feeling victimized in your connections with people. And now I'm using connections more broadly, could be any type of connection. But that Chiron and Eris, man, they are doing a number on the collective self-esteem. And we're seeing a lot of behaviors, to put it mildly, around how people handle feeling vulnerable, handle feeling not enough, handle feeling exposed, handle feeling left out, handle feeling disenfranchised, handle feeling otherized or different. When people have that sort of frequency and they're holding that sort of energy within themselves, Thankfully, this is going to be dissipating a little bit as we move forward, but Chiron will go retrograde this year and it'll pick right back up for a little bit, unfortunately. So it's going to be with us for a while. So it's important to understand what this is. That Chiron energy really is the energy of feeling wounded, feeling otherized, feeling different. And that's just the initial part of the Chironic journey, but it's the part of the journey that really resonates with the energy sitting next to it, and that's Aries here. The Aries energy is also holds that frequency, but it takes it to the next step of feeling excluded and then retaliatory. And so together we get this energy of almost like a little like, rather than listen to your better angels, how about you listen to your lower demons? How about we get them back? How about we put them in their place? Let's check them. Let's expose them. Let's cancel them. That sort of thing can really be inside of people's energy. Let's strike back. And so we see this at the micro level, certainly. You may find people are tense in parking lots or checkout lines in the store or, on public transportation or certainly on social media. This sort of ready to pounce, ready to strike at first offense. And it's because people are really carrying inside of them collectively a much deeper sense of feeling vulnerable and feeling the tension of feeling left out or otherized. We've certainly seen across the spectrum this energy was certainly here last year as well. We've definitely seen certain socio-political leaders utilize that to their advantage in their campaigns, where they've worked very hard to gain people's trust by pointing out how disenfranchised they are and that they are the savior, the solution to the answer to their prayers and problems. Really playing on some of that, um, it's the other group's fault. And if you can just get rid of the other group or put the other group in their place, then you'll be free. You'll finally be able to have what's yours. This sort of pitting people against one another sort of energy. And so know that, as you're witnessing this in the collective, there's a very personal way that this plays out. Again, this is Aries energy. It's a very personal sign. There's a very personal way that this can play out where people can feel very victimized and tell self victimization stories when the truth is you don't know what's going on with other people. They're all up in their own stuff feeling victimized. They're not actually trying to otherize you, they're just going through their own hard time. And so, recognizing that this is a current in the collective energies, that some people are very sensitive and highly responsive to it, that can be constructive when you're having interactions with people to know that I, a lot of what you're seeing and the ways people are reacting is just not about you. It's just not. People are just sensitive and very easily triggered at this time and will continue to be for some time. But some of this breaking us down, if we zoom out of um, the supra micro and go to the supra macro and go to the super macro, we zoom out of the geopolitical and the sociocultural and we go to the wide collective. This is an energy of kind of like getting broken down to get built back up in more holistic, integrated ways. And so it does serve a divine purpose when you understand the totality of the process. And that's a lot of what Saturn and Neptune are doing here at the start of Aries. And Chiron and Aerys are doing here at the end of Aries. They're doing this dance together to break us down, weed us out of this like victim consciousness by bringing it up and putting it in our face so we can come back to a real true sense of self, one that's more whole, one that's more intuitive, one that's more spiritually connected. That's the Saturn and Neptunian part back here. Okay. So we do have something to look forward to there. But since this particular energy, Chiron and Aries, are playing with this new moon at this particular moment for us, we do see this energy really starting to show up. People, like I said, you may find people are just sensitive right now. Don't take it personally. Um, I promise you, it's highly likely not you. It's just an opportunity for people to move through the process of where they're telling their own victim stories. And like I said, when people feel victimized, they do any number of things in response. Most of it at an extreme withdrawal, extreme lashing out, extreme whatever, fill in the blank, but you get the idea. And that's where it's headed. And this is why you might be seeing it in present time, because this energy is speaking to this new moon and the last full moon, and I believe the new moon before that. And in Leo, this just heightens it because Leo is another very personal sign. Okay. Now we see creation goddess here having this communication with this new moon and in opposition to Chiron and Aries and Haumea. And she is all about creation and birth and new beginnings. She's hanging out in the sign of endings and completions. So she is beginning a completion cycle. She is birthing a closure. She is creating a transformation. And so it's a beautiful energy here where we do get this opportunity to release some of that shadow energy and behavior, any of our toxicity, any of our own. And I've definitely seen this in way shower, light worker, personal growth and development communities, this sort of addiction to self transformation, growth, and change, where there is this addiction to fixing. We spoke about that recently in Union Workshop Part 2 with some of our participants and releasing that from our field, because it can be this sort of one false move syndrome. I gotta fix, I gotta fix, I gotta heal, I gotta heal, I gotta grow, I gotta grow. This sort of treadmill thing. And I had a client not that long ago, you know who you are, because that was a watershed conversation for you, and I remember it. And she asked me, she said, okay, like, when is it gonna ever be enough for me to just have the money and have the marriage? Like, when? Like, when do the stars let me know it? Like, I've done it all. And I said, oh, hon, like, the reality is, as long as you're in a body, there's always going to be something that you feel that will you can work on that's going to allow you to feel closer and closer to source until you drop the body and go home. You can actually have the marriage and have the money now. It's not dependent on you being perfect to get there. So keep fixing and healing and growing and evolving as long as it entertains you. It's as long as you're entertained by it, keep going. Why not, right? It's a wonderful way to move through life on earth. But know that there are people out here, you know them, I know them, we've seen them and met them, who have the very thing we want and who aren't doing all of this. This is optional. So if you like it and you're entertained by it and it feels good to you to be a growing and evolving being, great. Keep doing it. Haumea, creation goddess, and the sign of transformation. Grow your heart out. But if you're at the point where you're like, you know what, I just need a soft landing place, man. I like me. I like who I've become. I love where I'm at in my life. I love who I'm being with people. I love who the people are being with me. That's good too. You too, like both sides can have the love, can have the money, can have the health, right? So I wanted to make sure I land at that point as the creation goddess really settles in for a bit of a longer transit here through Scorpio. She's been dancing at the edge of Scorpio and Libra for some time now, many, many months. Retrograde, forward, retrograde, then forward. this is an important lesson to understand that you don't have to earn what God has so freely given. It's just there for you because you're loved. It's there for you because you exist. It's a matter of allowing it in. Okay. So I wanted to make sure I shared that because that's a counterbalancing energy. You can see it's doggone opposite to this Chiron and Aries energy, which is so self involved in its ego destruction. This creation goddess, I like to shed skin like a snake, you know. If it feels good, do it, baby. Do it for you. Now, this there can be some tension here between creation goddess and Scorpio, who wants to birth endings and completion, and Chiron and Eris here in Aries, who's really all about that self-preservation by any means necessary. This tension opposite this new moon in Leo forms what we as astrologers call a T square. Now, T squares are often, well, not really a T square because we have this Pluto here in Aquarius. This brings it into a cardinal, or sorry, a fixed grand cross. And it's fixed because they're all here in fixed signs except for Chiron and Eris, who are headed toward fixed sign Taurus. Now, the fixed Grand Cross. This is an energy that's really going to force us to decide who we are. And the pivot point, the point that's the anchor point to the Grand Cross, is this sun and moon. They're the personal planets here. And this is why I say it's about deciding who we are. The sun and the moon are our most personal planets. The sun is our identity, the moon is our needs and our emotional self, that soul self and heart self. The two of these together in Leo, the sign that's all about sovereignty, are asking us to shed, release anything that's compromising that sovereignty for us, whether it's an idea, a program, a pattern, a relationship, a job, etc., to shed it so that we're no longer compromised. And it really establishes this pull, this tension in us to figure out both and solutions, but also to recognize the truth in either or at the exact same time. And so often this calls for slower decision making. These grand crosses can call for, um, a little bit of self patience and some presence of mind and self awareness as well. It gives us that opportunity again to see who we're made of when our back is against the wall. So I like this energy because it's going to reveal to us the truth about us in this moment, whether we like it or not, and give us some space, freedom, and permission to play in who do we want to be, right? Who do we say we are when our back's against the wall and the chips are down? It's definitely a moment where proving yourself to yourself more than anyone else is a big piece of the step we're taking collectively at this time. So I love to see it. It's a beautifully evolving energy. Like I said, if you would like to work together to figure this out, this energy is going to be active through roughly the end of July into the beginning of August. And there's definitely places in my calendar at the beginning of August if you'd like to chat. Signs who are going to feel this most. Here's Chiron and Eris. Like I said, they're going to be with us for a few months left. So if you know you've been dealing with somebody in your life who is like straight up in victim mode and like lashing out at you, and you want to look at this, like, how do I stand in my light in this? We should take a look at your chart and see where this falls in your chart, because the Chiron energy here, especially being out in front of Eris, is the leadership energy. And so that leadership energy lets us know where you're meant to rise in the situation. It's not always about being the bigger person. It's just about being the person that's the truest to self. Like, who do you want to be in the face of some of this energy? So, there's time in August if you want to talk through this. And for those of you who are in groups with me in your membership areas, there's links to savings codes. There's also special availability that I've made available just for you so that you don't have to wait so long. Thank you all for being in communities with me. I'm so grateful for it. Signs who are going to feel this new moon most. You are going to feel this new moon most if you are an early Leo or late Cancer, like literally just had your birthday. You'll also feel this most if you are an early Aquarius or a late Capricorn, at the very beginning of Aquarius, the very end of Capricorn. You're also going to feel this heavily if you are one of those early Scorpios in the October timeframe or a late Libra. And you're also going to feel this pretty heavily if you are one of those early Taurians, late Aries folk, the April born. Okay. So, lastly, I'll say fire signs, of course, early Sagittarius, early Aries, and that includes you cuspy Pisces and cuspy Scorpios on the Aries Scorpio cusp. You guys are going to feel this a bit more intensely than anyone else. So it is coming. I want to prepare you. I will be opening the astrological community where I'm going to take you into deeper insights at each lunation. This lunation, things I would be talking about with you in the private community when that opens up include the Mercury retrograde and how that's impacting folks. I talked about this over on the live mini reading channel. Some of you caught that. The Mars conjunction to the South Node. It's a very intense period of time where there's a lot of release of what many people identify as karma that has occurred in the last 30 days. Certainly will be continue to be very potent over the next 20 or so days. Things that I also would have talked about here include Venus's trine to Juno. There's a lot going on here when it comes to love and connection. You can follow me over to the Twin Flame Lunar Update for some of that. But also we see Venus square Mars includes a lot of passion, a lot of you know, eggplant emoji time, if you know what I mean. It's a really juicy energy going on here, and I'm really looking forward to be able to talk through this in a more intimate community where you guys can ask me questions in real time and work through your process in real time. So be on the lookout for that community to launch sometime in the next few weeks. Thank you all for your likes, your shares, your subscribes, for sharing with other community members in the comment section, how this is unfolding for you. As you guys know, I don't often hang out in the comments for mental health reasons. It's just, I do better creative work when I'm less exposed to what everyone's thinking all the time. And I'm just focused on the messages that I'm receiving to share with you. But those times when I do check in, I do love to see, you guys supporting one another, being kind and gentle and generous with one another. Because as you know, we're all growing through it together. If you're following me over to the Twin Flame Lunar Update for Divine Counterparts, Soulmates, and Twin Flames, can't wait to see you over there. This is where I love you and leave you with love. Take great care, and bye for now.